Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please, thank you. Please take your seats. Thank you so much. There's a little gratitude in the room here. Thank you. I want to welcome all of you to the special live stream that we're doing here in Cancun, Mexico. For those of you who are part of our community, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for making time out of your busy lives to join us. Those of you who are new to this work, the same. Thank you so much for taking your Sunday and spending a little time with us. This is our 50th week-long retreat that we've done over the years. For those of you who are joining us, we have about 2,200 people from so many different countries around the world right here in Cancun with us. You happen to be catching the energy of the group at the end of a week-long event. This is what it typically looks like, people in an elevated state, believing in themselves and believing in possibility. Again, that's why we retreat from our lives. That's why it's important for us to separate ourselves from the people we know and the places we go and the things that we do all the time, to remove that stimulation in the outer environment that reminds us of who we think we are as a personality, and to break the addictions, emotions, and cravings, and habits, and beliefs, and perceptions that keep us connected to that past. It's important to fill the brain with information, to learn new information that's vital, that speaks to possibility, and learning that theory, and learning that philosophy, and learning that information, and firing and wiring circuits in your brain. And then reviewing the information and thinking about it so you can remember it. And it's so much easier to forget it than to remember it. But then the application, the personalization, the demonstration of that knowledge means that you have to actually align your behaviors with your intentions. And if you do that properly, the experience comes, and the experience produces the emotion that tells you it's the truth. That's what experience does. You embody the truth of that philosophy. So 7 days, people overcoming themselves, 7 days learning information, wiring that information in their brain, understanding a model so that when it gets to the application, they can understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Why are they doing it? To change something about themselves, to create some new experience of themselves. You do that for 7 days over and over again. The side effect of that is in breaking those chemical conditions that keep the body in the past, and the habits that keep us behaving as if we're in the past, and the beliefs that are based on the past. Somehow, the liberation of all of that energy in terms of neurocircuitry and hormones and gene expression, all of that disorder in the beginning, that is the discomfort we experience when we change, if you stay with it, we figured out there's a formula that you could use to begin to reorganize that energy back into order. The side effect of that is joy. The side effect of that is inspiration. The side effect of that is creativity. The side effect of that is believing in your future. The side effect of that is more gratitude, more appreciation, more kindness, more care, more love, more giving. That's, I think, when the divine is born in us. So we have about 28,000 people joining us at this little live stream that we're currently doing right now. And I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about the history of our retreats and maybe give you a glimpse of some of the ideas of things to come. I was sitting on the porch this morning looking out at the ocean, and I was thinking about these 50-week-long events that we did. I wanted to take a moment and think about it, and I thought about over those 50 events, and I just happened to be at all of them. I thought about all the lives that have changed. I thought about all the bodies that were healed and made whole again. I thought about all the testimonials of people who stood on the stage and told their stories of transformation. All the people that created new lives, and new opportunities, and synchronicities for themselves. They created that. I thought about all the miracles that so many of us witnessed, really big miracles, and all the teachings that were given, and all the words that were used, and how we're studying and analyzing the words, the language. I thought about all the hearts that were opened and healed, all the minds that were opened and healed, witnessing other people heal themselves of health conditions, the ones that medicine and science had no solution for, and how it changed me, and how it inspired and changed others to heal and change. And we know now from our data that people change people. And just like an infection can spread amongst a community and create disease, we see health and wellness and wholeness be as infectious as disease when communities come together. I witnessed so many paths that were turned to wisdom and healed and overcome, and I thought about all the scientific research that we did in these many, many week-long retreats, and how we've discovered so many amazing things about the science of change and transformation, the science of human potential, and the understanding that the autonomic nervous system is the greatest pharmacist in the world, and we discovered it works better than any drug. I thought about all the stories of people that had created abundance in their lives, millions of dollars from bankruptcy, being in jail, being in prison, in serious debt. I thought about all the mystical experiences and all the opportunities that we created for someone to have an unknown and mystical experiences that so many people have had in our community in this work. I thought about all the souls that came together, the friends that were made, all the loving relationships that have started in this work, children that were born in this work, children that have come to this work, all the businesses that were started from those relationships. But most importantly, I thought about the community of individuals that work together, to prove to themselves that they can become the very thing that they want in their life. And I'm so proud of our community of people who come to week-long events because they do the work. This is a time in history where it's not enough to know. This is a time in history to know how. And during COVID, I discovered that our greatest value that we have is community, and I believe that the future is community. And I never, ever, ever planned on doing any of this. I never planned on doing any of this. I was a happy person in my 20s living in Southern California and at the peak of my life. And I was training for a triathlon with 2 other guys. And the winner of the triathlon would be taken by the 2 losers anywhere in the West Coast they wanted to go for 4 days. So we were training. And I stopped training with those guys, and I started training with someone else. And I started noticing that they didn't call me as much. I noticed that they were kind of disappearing, and I thought, I wonder if they're still training. The night we were supposed to leave to go to Palm Springs, they called me. I was in my clinic. They called me just when I had everything ready to go, and they said, we're not going to do the race. And I thought, are you kidding me? They said, yeah, we're not in the shape that we want to be in. I'm like, oh, you mean you were going to lose the bet? Is that what that means? Anyway, I wasn't upset with them, but I was at a critical point. I hung up the phone, and I was like, but what do? Do I just wait to the next one, or do I go? And I almost canned the whole thing. I almost said, I'm just going to go home and whatever. And then there was part of me that just said, man, you really worked hard for this race. You really prepared yourself for it. Whether they go or not, you should do the race. And I got in my car, drove with my training partner to the race that evening. And the next day I was run over by a truck right in the middle of the race, and that changed my life. And what if the worst thing that ever happened to you is the best thing that ever happened to you? At that time, being in my mid-20s and feeling like I was on top of the world, I was broken. And I had studied the spine. I understood its mechanics. I had 6 fractures in my spine, and the prognosis wasn't good. And in the 80s, nobody pretty much said no to surgery. Well, they didn't say it too often. I was facing a lot of health challenges and sensory problems and motor problems. My body wasn't the same after the compression fractures, and they couldn't guarantee that I would ever return back to proper neurological function. And they wanted to do this radical surgery, and I just kept thinking that the power that made the body heals the body. I just couldn't stop thinking that. And I thought, well, there's an intelligence that's giving me life. It may not know how to fully heal broken bones, because maybe that's a gene thing or a mind limitation. Is it possible, if I give it some instructions, if I give it a template, if I give it a plan, if I show it exactly what I want, and be really present and surrender it, my creation, show it exactly what I want, if I kept showing it what I want, would it start taking that and begin to affect my biology? And I thought, I have nothing to lose. Anyway, I went through my own initiation, and to my surprise, it started to work. And I think I was more surprised than anybody would be, because I had put so much of my effort into it, and my mind was untrained. And it would always go to the worst-case scenario in the middle of my creation process. And if I believed that somehow my thoughts had something to do with my life, I was creating the life I didn't want. And boy, it's so easy to default in that way. I had a dark night of the soul and weighing what I knew against what I didn't know. And I knew that no one had the answers to the questions I was asking, or the answer to whether I should have the surgery or not, but me. And it was a really chilling moment for a young guy in his 20s, and I just thought, I'm going to roll the dice. And I did. And when it worked, and I started to feel better, and then I started to believe in it more, it changed me on a very deep level. I couldn't go back to being the same person again, because I was initiated by that experience. I mean, what was I going to be unhappy about? I was just happy that I was alive and on my feet again, and I was training again, and I was doing all the things I was doing. I had no limitations at all. But there was a part of me that was preoccupied with the idea of what happened. The scientist in me was saying, well, how is this possible? If you changed, did you signal new genes and make new proteins? What were you doing there? What happened? And I couldn't find any of the answers in conventional medical and scientific texts. I had to start looking at neuroplasticity and neuroendocrinology and the mind-body connection, psychoneuroimmunology, and really look at epigenetics and what was the latest research. And I joined Medscape, and I would read all the articles, and I was fascinated by the idea. And then I heard someone say somewhere that you can't explain how a cut heals without talking quantum physics. And I was like, what? But it made sense to me, because, what we learned about cells and biology in high school is very antiquated in the understanding that we currently have today. And so I put a lot of time and energy into finding the information to help me understand maybe what I did to have that change. I moved to another part of the world. I changed my life. And I had a lot of time to think about it, a lot of time to study and to read. Then I got interested in spontaneous remissions, how other people healed themselves of different health conditions that they were treating conventionally or unconventionally, and they were getting worse, and all of a sudden they got better. And I was fascinated by the idea that they were producing some effect. And I wanted to know what the cause was that was producing that effect. And I was a Puritan at the time. I had a and I had a perfect diet. I worked out, had a yoga studio, martial arts studio, I trained for triathlons, I was fit. I thought they had to do more yoga, eat better. I thought it was all those things, to take these things, and those were none of the commonalities, to my surprise. But on some level, I intuitively knew it. And I traveled around the world and I interviewed a lot of people to see if I could find out what it was that they were doing. And the one thing I realized is that they were changing. They were breaking the habit of their old self and reinventing a new self. In other words, they reasoned with themselves, I'm only going to live for 6 months, how would I live? Would I live this way if I only had 6 months, or I just live the way I want to live? And some of those individuals took a chance in the unknown. They said, I don't want to be an attorney anymore. I hate it. I want to be an artist. And I saw this man's bronze statues, and they were unbelievably beautiful. And he said, yeah, that diagnosis was, they gave me 6 months to live, and it's 9 years or 8 years. I just became somebody else. I just changed. And so I got very interested in the understanding or how we change and why is it so hard to change. And so many of those people believed that there was an intelligence just like me that was giving them life, that was transcendent of their senses. Whatever you want to call that there was some power within them that they had to take time to connect to. And so many of them, when they were thinking about how they did want to think if they had a new life or if they were healed, how they would act, and they thought about trading all that anger and all that resentment for love and joy, and they started to get happy. Somehow that process of change caused their disease to change as well. And when they're in that inner world where they're making thought more real than anything else, somehow they got beyond space and time. And I wanted to understand the part of the brain that did that, and I studied the frontal lobe. I've read every single researcher that was out there that was doing any research on the frontal lobe, just because it is what separates us from all other species, and that's where we make thought more real than anything else. And I discovered it was like a volume control, and it lowers the volume to the circuits in the rest of the brain where we process space and time, and that's what allows our inner world to become more real than the outer world. And so I got involved in the understanding of what they were doing, and then trying to find the language to put it together. And then there were some documentaries that came out, and then we were traveling around the world, and people started asking the really great questions. If my thoughts have something to do with my life, how do I do it? And if my personality creates my personal reality, and my personality is made up of how I think, how I act, and how I feel, if I'm going to change my life, I have to change my personality. Why is it so hard to change? I thought that was a really good question. And so we started doing one-day events, Friday evening and Saturday events, and we would talk brain science, and we would use meditation as the model to get beyond the analytical mind, to become familiar with the old self and become familiar with the new self, to get beyond our environment, the stimulation from our body and environment, and the way we process time. And so I was interested in piecing that together in a one-day event and giving people some tools. And after the events, people just said, well, I feel better, I feel better than when I came. That was kind of their common answer. But I wasn't seeing the effects that we were seeing when those people that were sick and did this. I wanted to replicate what they did with sick people and well people and see if that would change themselves or their lives in some way. But at the end of every event, people would say, that was really amazing, can you teach another one? So we would teach another level, then we teach another level, and teach another level, and just kept going on. And somewhere along the line, I started seeing that people with chronic health conditions, everything from MS and lupus and Parkinson's disease, right in a weekend event, we started lengthening our events. Instead of one evening and one day, it was one evening and 2 days. And we're doing a lot of those. And people started stepping out of wheelchairs, and people started healing from different health conditions. And now, all of a sudden, I was getting feedback, and I knew that on some level that people were making some substantial change. And I thought, what is it? What is it that they're doing right there in that moment, that's changing their biology. We have to measure it. And so from that point forward, we developed events that were 4 days in one evening instead of 2 days in one evening. I thought if we had a little bit more time and it was happening in 2 days, maybe it could happen to more people. But we did brain scans, and we measured blood, and we measured genes, and we measured telomeres, and we measured the immune response, we measured the heart, we measured the energy in the room. We started measuring all kinds of things and try to demystify that process. We're doing pre and post measurements at those events, and we were doing real-time measurements as well. We started discovering these really profound brain states that were very atypical in neuroscience. There was a dramatic change in the person's brain in real time, and that very objective measurement went straight with some person's very profound subjective experience. And the experience seemed to be very similar from person to person because it was a very real experience to them that had a very strong emotional quotient. But that emotion, that arousal, brought them closer to love, brought them closer to joy, brought them closer to freedom. And so the side effect of that for many people is we saw biological upgrades happening right in that moment. There was the disease, and then it disappeared, and we started discovering that we could actually predict that brain state. We could replicate it over and over again. And so when we started seeing the changes in people in 4-day events, the next idea was, okay, why don't we do 7-day events? And the 7-day events were these week-long events that we have done 50 of. 50 week-long events where people from all over the world and just when we started doing our week-long events, one of the colleagues of mine who's a physician, a medical doctor, and a researcher, a PhD, saw somebody stand on the stage in Cancun, right here, that had metastatic cancer spread throughout her body when she was in Mallorca a few months earlier. And she had a profound moment, one of those arousals, and she went back to the doctor, and there was no cancer anywhere in her body. And I have to tell you, I was equally surprised. But the scientist in him said, I wonder if that really happened, and if that really happened, how did that happen? And he got right up in my face during breakfast, and he wanted to do research, and that's when we partnered with the University of California, San Diego, and its Department of Anesthesiology. And we started doing very, very serious empirical science in studying people that come to 7-day events. This is our laboratory. This is the lab right here. Get a collective group of people together, get them to think differently, make different choices, do different things, create different experiences, feel different emotions, and become somebody else. Will their biology change, and to what extent? And somehow we've discovered that when people do this properly, whatever it is that they are connecting to that gives them that arousal produces more wholeness in their biology. They're resistant to viruses and bacteria. We have the data to show that. They downregulate genes for Alzheimer's. They produce a natural anti-carcinogenic chemical that takes the energy out of cancer cells. Somehow there's information in that blood that takes away pain and creates joy and euphoria. We've isolated the molecules. There's information in the blood that affects breast milk that causes the breast milk to be pro-growth and pro-life. There's information in the blood that somehow changes the person's microbiome in a very short amount of time, just 7 days. And the majority of people who come to this event, who go through a week-long event, their biology shows that the entire community, almost the entire community, is evolving together. All different types of gene expressions and gene proteins. And at the end of 7 days, everybody's expressing the same genes and making the same proteins. There's an emergent consciousness, and the collective is evolving biologically together based on the information they're understanding and the application and how they're applying it. And so because of that, we saw that in 7 days, we saw these type of changes and much more. What if we did a 10-day event? Now, we experimented last year in September. We did a week-long event in Marco Island, and then I gave my team just a few days, 2 days, and we jumped right into an advanced follow-up. And I just have to make sure that they can go for that amount of time, and we did so well. And so we're going to do measurements to see what happens if we went 3 more days and we went 10 days. What type of changes would we see in people's biology? And so we're not going to do 10-day events every time, but I think it's something that we should see. If the effects are even more dramatic, we should consider how much more the community can grow and change together. So that's on the horizon. The first one we'll do will be in Cancun right here in December. Also, we are so curious when we've seen these type of biological changes in the collective that suggest that they're literally living in a new environment in 7 days. We started to push the envelope to see what would happen if we gave people new knowledge and new information at an advanced follow-up. People who actually practice the work on a regular basis, or almost regular basis. Can we measure their biology and see if we give them the proper information and have them embrace that information by application? Could they begin to evolve their biology in a shorter amount of time? And so what are the effects then that take place? And so every time we do some type of research and some type of discovery happens as a result of that research, we start thinking about research experiments that we never thought about before because we didn't know that it was possible. And I've seen the scientists that have been so dedicated and committed to this work run the same tests over and over again. I've seen so many of them have their beliefs challenged, that the data that we're discovering, they've never seen a pharmaceutical study work as well. They're changing their belief, and the purpose of all of that is to speak the language of transformation and give people the tools to have them go back into their lives and begin to apply this information so they can reap the benefits without relying on anyone or anything outside of them. So today is the final meditation that we do collectively as a group, and it's called the Changing Boxes Meditation. It happens to be the most popular meditation amongst every single advanced student in this community because in a very short amount of time, you can change your state, and if you do that properly, you can change your life in a short amount of time. So I'm going to talk to you and reason with you about how we keep creating the same life where a problem or a circumstance or a condition, no matter what we do to change it, never changes because we haven't changed. And nothing changes in our life until we change. So would you agree then that we're all faced with great opportunities that are brilliantly disguised as impossible situations in our life? And that no organism actually can change until they're challenged. And the greater you become, the greater your challenges become. So in order to resolve some problem or some challenge in our life that's created from a certain level of consciousness or unconsciousness, we have to go to a greater level of consciousness than the consciousness that has created it. Yes or no? All right, so now let's think about this. The brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of all the memories, all the things you've learned, all the experiences you've had in your entire lifetime. Your brain, then, is a reflection of everything that you know. And every single person, every single object, every single thing, every single place, every single experience that you've had that's known to you in your life, you have a neurological network for. You have a neurological network for your husband, for your wife, for your children, for your coworkers, for your cell phone, for your computer, for your car, for where you sleep, where you work, where you sit. Every single thing that you've experienced in three-dimensional reality has a neurological network associated with it. Are you with me still? So if the brain is a record of the past, then if you have a neurological network for your spouse, then for the most part, you are seeing your spouse through the memory of the past. Come on, yes or no? It's in fact that reality is a memory. So then your neurological network through experience causes you to think the same way about the person who's sitting in front of you. Yes or no? And if a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again, you have certain beliefs about the people and circumstances in your life. Yes or no? And if you've experienced your coworker, or if you experienced your spouse, more than likely you have an emotion associated with them. Yes or no? So then the emotion is a record of the past. And so then the person then, if they have a memory of their spouse, then if they have a memory of their spouse, then they're going to behave a certain way around their spouse. Yes or no? And if you keep behaving the same way around your spouse, it becomes a habit. And a habit is you behaving in your past. Come on, yes or no? It's so automatic that you're unconscious that you're behaving that way. Your body's behaving that way. Not your conscious mind, the body mind. Are you with me still? And if you keep responding in the same emotional state equal to that person or that problem, then how you're thinking, how you're acting, and how you're feeling is staying the same because your environment is controlling your behaviors, your thoughts, and your emotions. Yes or no? And if your personality creates your personal reality, and your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel, if you're thinking, acting, and feeling in the same way, your life will actually stay the same. Yes or no? So the problem that we have in our life, that it is really just a challenge to go to a greater level of consciousness, if we see that problem in our life as something that causes us to have a strong emotional response, the stronger the emotional response that you have towards that person or towards that problem, the more you give it your attention. Yes or no? And where you place your attention is where you place your... So then you're thinking about that problem and that person in the same way. You're feeling the same way about that person, and how you're thinking and how you're feeling is staying the same. Your consciousness, your awareness, your unconsciousness, your energy is staying the same, which means your life should stay the same. Yes or no? And you can hire the mafia, hitmen, the best attorneys. You could have counsel. You could have coaches. You could try to pay them off. You do anything you can, matter to matter, to try to change that condition, and it's not changing because it's entirely possible that that problem isn't changing because you're not changing. And it's your energy that's keeping that problem intact because you're feeling the same way. How many people understand? Turn the person next to you and teach that back to them. If you're watching the live stream, if you're watching with somebody, turn to them and talk to them. If you're watching it and nobody's there, call somebody up and talk to them. Explain that to the person next to you. So, if how you think and how you feel has some effect on your life, if you are thinking about that problem based on a memory and you're feeling the same emotion about that problem, your consciousness is at the same level of consciousness or unconsciousness that created that problem, and it will never change. Come on, are you with me still? The more the emotional arousal that you have when you think about that problem, the more you give it your attention. You give it your life force. You're placing your attention there, and that's energy you could use to change the problem. Yes or no? So then, if you've been in this work for the entire week, you notice that you lowered the volume to a lot of those motions that would have you be thinking about that problem. Yes or no? You sat through your frustration, your impatience, your anger, all those resentments, all those emotions. You settled the body down over and over again. And really, right now, the way you think about that problem might not be the same, or the way you feel about it might not be the same. Yes or no? So then, is it possible then that you could take all of your attention off of everything known and physical in your life, take all of your attention of all the people you know, the things you own, the places you've been, all the future or the past that you can predict, get beyond your body and become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time, become pure consciousness and move to a realm beyond space and time where there are infinite possibilities that exist in the quantum field. Now here's the question. If you entered this realm called time-space, the eternal now, and there's an infinite number of possibilities that are in its non-manifest, immaterial, non-tangible form. Everything is energy, everything is frequency, every thought has a frequency. If you could get to this place where things are connected and no longer divided and there's oneness and there's no separation, if the thought of a reality in the quantum where the problem doesn't exist, would that produce the feeling then of the problem no longer existing? Yes or no? And what would that feeling be? Joy, freedom, love, relief. Yes? But the thought of your problem in the three-dimensional reality produces the feeling of something else. Yes or no? So if you could literally get beyond your body, your environment, and time, take all of your attention off everything physical and material, and move to that realm beyond space and time, that quantum field, there is a possibility or a reality where that problem does not exist. Yes or no? And the thought of that possibility would produce the relief that you are in a new life. Yes or no? So then, remember we talked about those boxes, those dressing rooms where there's an infinite number of them when you have two mirrors? Remember that? You wave this way, you see a number of views. You wave this way, you see another number of views. Then that reality that you're in is one reality in the quantum where the problem exists. Yes? If you could become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time, pure consciousness, move to the realm of infinite possibilities, and become aware of a reality where the problem doesn't exist. Do you have to know what that is? You don't have to know what that reality is. All you have to do is become aware of that frequency. Come on, are you with me? And if you can feel that frequency in the present moment, your body is so objective that it's believing it's living where? In that future. When? And if you keep investing your attention in that future, keep doing it over and over again, your body always follows your mind. Your body should follow your mind right out of that reality into a new reality where the problem doesn't exist. How many people understand? The problem is that if you start getting frustrated, you start feeling the same emotions, you start thinking about the problems in the same way, that door closes. So then if you're in that reality where the problem no longer exists, and you're feeling the feeling of it, you're in that future in the present moment. If where you place your attention is where you place your energy, if you're in that future reality, in nothing, in that vacuum, could you from that future reality call your body to you from that future reality with your heart? Could you? And if you kept drawing your body to you with your heart, your body should follow your mind right to that reality where the problem doesn't exist. And the door out of that reality is your heart. How many people understand? Turn the person next to you and share that, please. All right, I'll give you a story. Here's a practical story. I was going to visit Barry. He's actually in this event, Barry Goldstein, one of the composers for the music that we do. And he lives in Phoenix, and I had to be at his studio by noon. And I don't remember Kelly telling me that it was going to land later, but I just knew that when I looked at my flight, it said that I would arrive at 12:30, and that it was 45 minutes to his house, and I was like, I'm going to miss it. I don't have time to miss this studio session. Then I had to drive to Sedona, and I said to Kelly, you got to get me another flight. She's like, there is no other flight. And I said, well, then get a plane. Too late. You got to take this flight. And I said, surely there's a potential in the quantum field, Kelly, where I could get to Phoenix early. And she said, you'd have to be really good for this one. So I set the phone down. I closed my eyes. I thought, okay, let me take all of my attention off the physical material world. Particle wave, matter, energy. It's mostly energy, it's less matter. Okay, so I'm going to open my awareness to nothing that's tangible, that has form or structure. I'm going to pay more attention to that, less attention to me. That's where all possibilities exist. That's pure consciousness. That's where the quantum physicists say there's an infinite number of potential realities that simultaneously exist, that are connected to one another. If I could become aware that I'm in a reality where I'm actually at Barry's studio by noon tomorrow. If I could just put my attention there, in that reality, I'm not going to see anything, I'm not going to try to create anything, in that nothing, in that realm of infinite possibilities, I'm just going to become aware that there's a possibility where I get there by the right time, and the thought in that realm of connection produces the feeling of gratitude that I'm there. And I'm shortening the distance between the thought of what I want and the experience of having it, because the thought is creating the experience. And that's what shortens the distance, called time in three-dimensional reality, for it to appear. So I did it a few times. I set my phone down. I did it a few times just for fun. I wasn't really expecting anything. And then I did it again in the evening. I said, there's a possible reality where I get there by noon. I have no idea how that's going to happen, but I'm just going to tune in. I did it again. I invested my attention in that future reality in the present moment. I wasn't seeing anything. I was just aware that I was there as pure consciousness. Then I thought, I'm there. I can feel like I'm there. I'm feeling the gratitude. My body's got to follow my mind. It follows my mind to the kitchen every morning, follows my mind to the car. It's always following my mind, but it's going to the known. I want my body to follow my mind to an unknown, to a new experience. So when I was there, I started drawing my body to me with gratitude. I kept drawing it to me with gratitude. I kept doing it over and over again, so much so that when I thought about going to Phoenix, I felt grateful that I was going to be there on time. And then I just gave up. The next morning, I get an email from the airline that says that the flight has moved up an hour and a half. Did you get that? I would have never thought of that. I just would have never, that was not in my thinking mind that it was possible. Did I have to know how it was going to happen? No, it's got to be an unknown. So I want you to think about some problem or challenge in your life that hasn't seemed to go away. You've tried everything to make it change, anything from your health to your financial situation, to a relationship with a family member or a coworker, or something in your life that's not changing. And I want you to name it as something. Because how you think about that problem or that challenge and how you feel about that problem must change in order for that problem to change. Are you with me still? If you keep feeling the same way about that problem, you keep thinking that same way about that problem, you are moving into your familiar past. You're back into the known. So then if I asked you then, once you had that problem defined, can you think about the feeling of how you would feel if that problem was resolved? And could you feel that feeling in your heart? Could you? So if I asked you to disinvest all of your attention and energy out of the three-dimensional world, to get beyond space and time, move from the realm of dimensional reality to the fourth dimension, and ultimately to that fifth dimension called time-space, where there's an infinite number of possibilities. As pure consciousness, could you become aware of the reality where the problem doesn't exist? Could you? And could you feel the feeling of what that would feel like? And could you stay there and feel more of that and less of you? And I'm going to tell you, keep investing into that future in the present moment. And all I want you to do is keep feeling the feeling of how it would feel when it happened. And if you're feeling the feeling that it's how it would feel when it would happen, your body's so objective that it's believing what? It's happening when? And that is a big splash in the quantum field. And all I want you to do is keep investing your energy there. And when you're in that vacuum, you're in that void, when you're in that nothing, when the emptiness, when you're pure consciousness, then I'm going to ask you to keep drawing your body to you with your heart. Keep drawing it to you with your heart. You don't have to see it or anything. All I want you to do is sense your connection to it and keep drawing it to you with your heart. And just like your body follows your mind to the toilet every morning, to the known, it's going to follow your mind right to that unknown experience where the door leads you out of that box into another one. How many people understand? I'm going to give it a shot. There's no laying down. It'll be a simple, short meditation. Those of you who are joining us, make sure, if you've never meditated before, to sit in a comfortable position with your eyes closed. This won't be a long meditation. I'm going to take you into nothing. Our research shows there's a lot of something in that nothing. Sit up. Eyes closed. Take a breath. Relax. Your body. Feel it. And relax it. relax. Into nothing. Tune in to all the nothing. Feel it. All the nothing. Feel your connection to it. All the nothing. Become it. Become nothing. Become more of it. Less of you. And lose yourself. To nothing. More aware of nothing. Pay more attention to it. Less attention to you. And dissolve into nothing. It's all frequency. In nothing. Feel your Feel it. Experience it. Feel your connection to it. All the energy in nothing. It's all possibilities. In nothing. Feel your connection to it. All possibilities. Feel your connection to it. In nothing. Aware of nothing but you. Tune in to the reality where the problem no longer exists. Find it. Feel it. Reality where the challenge no longer exists. In nothing. Aware of nothing but you. The reality where the challenge no longer exists. Feel it. Relax into it. In nothing. Become aware of it. The reality. The challenge no longer exists. Feel it. Stay aware of it. The reality where the challenge no longer exists. Feel your connection to it. With your heart, feel it. Fall in love with it. The reality where the challenge no longer exists. Feel it. With your heart. In the reality where the challenge no longer exists. Tune in. Feel. You're in the reality where the challenge no longer exists. Feel it with your heart in nothing but your awareness, the reality where the challenge no longer exists. Feel it with your heart. Feel it with a grateful heart. The reality of the challenge no longer exists. Feel it with your heart. That reality where it no longer exists. Feel it in nothing. Now it's time to draw your body to you with the love in your heart. In nothing, drawing it to you, the love in your heart. Drawing it to you, the grateful heart. Feel it. Aware of nothing. The reality no longer exists. Drawing your body to you. The grateful heart. Feel it in nothing. Drawing your body to you with a trusting heart. Feel it. Drawing it to you from deep in your heart. Feel your connection to it. Your heart, drawing your body to you, with your heart, and remember this feeling with your heart. Feel it. And remember this feeling with your heart. The reality. You're in the reality. The challenge no longer exists. Know it by heart. Feel it. And remember this feeling. Let it live in your heart. The door to your future lives in your heart. Remember this feeling. It's your connection challenge no longer exists. Remember, you're in a reality. The challenge no longer exists. In your heart, remember this feeling. Slowly bring your awareness back to your body, to your environment, to this time. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Come back to the world of the senses. In this space and time. Now that wasn't too hard, was it? Stronger the emotion you feel, the more you place your energy in that future. Just like the stronger the emotion you feel from some problem or condition, when you react emotionally, you're putting it in the past. Keep investing your attention in that future. If it doesn't happen in 2 days, you're not that good. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. I've worked on things for weeks, and there was just, in my limited mind, there was no solution. There was no solution in my limited mind. But I knew that there was a possibility in the realm of infinite possibilities. There has to be a mind that's greater than mine that knows the answer to this. Keep investing my attention, my energy in that future. Keep living in that reality and then nothing. I keep investing my attention in another one of those boxes, another one of those dressing rooms. Keep putting it in there. Keep putting it in there. My body's going to follow my mind right to that reality. Keep doing it over and over again, and the door seamlessly opens. I've had it happen where I've scratched my head and said, why didn't I think of that? Because that was in my known. How many people understand? Very popular meditation, easy to do. We have the Changing Boxes walking meditation now that I just finished, and I'm going to release it to the world. That's why we are doing this live stream, because I think that, here's an example. I have this young kid who's a baseball player, and his mother is a really, really important person in our work. She runs the Give to Give Foundation, and she's a very, very cool person. And her son's like a college kid. He's a baseball player, and he gets in his head, and he's a very talented kid. And she asked me if I would talk to him and work with him. So I talked to him, asked him a bunch of questions, and then created this little mini meditation for him. And I said, dude, just do this every day, before you go out there. Just remind yourself, and just created this wonderful thing. Never meditated before. 2 weeks later, I get a text from him. He's like, hey, Dr. Joe, my whole team's doing the Changing Boxes meditation. Like, oh my God. Boy, did we take a leap from mental rehearsal to changing realities. I want the world to have the opportunity to have the Changing Boxes meditation. Barry did an amazing job on the music. It's one of my favorite pieces. And we released it in the follow-up. In Dallas, we'll release it again. Washington, D.C., for those of you that are coming, we'll release the Changing Boxes walking meditation. But it's a great way to open your eyes and remember you're in that reality. There is infinite number of realities, and we can close our eyes, and if we truly connect to that invisible field of information, when we come back and open our eyes, we should be in another reality that looks just like the one we left, but something's different. And if you keep doing that every day, it keeps changing. That's the name of the game. So Changing Boxes Walking Meditation is available. You have the 20-minute Changing Boxes sitting meditation, and when I cut the meditation, the first one, I didn't know it was 40 minutes long. My team told me it was 40 minutes. I said, what? I got carried away there. So we made a 20-minute version. It's easier. I use it all the time. It's a great way to go from one place to the other. But when you open your eyes, you got to remember, you can't think and feel about that problem in the same way because you just return back to the same personality that created that same personal reality, the same level of consciousness that created the problem. You got to go to a greater level of consciousness. Becoming conscious of a reality and feeling the energy and the emotion of it changes your consciousness. And if you do it in a realm where there's infinite possibilities, somehow energy slows down into matter and it appears in your life. That's the name of the game. So those of you who joined us for the little mini Changing Boxes meditation, there's an explanation that goes with that meditation in the beginning if you want to review it and understand a little bit more. I hope you enjoyed this little tiny glimpse into our retreats. If you haven't attended one yet, please feel inspired to join us. The week-long retreats are probably our most popular retreat that we do for the world. We have a little room in Dallas in August. Dallas is August 18th to the 25th, and then I think, let's see, there's after Dallas, what's the next one? Denver? No, Denver's Nashville. I'm sorry. Nashville is from September 15th to September 21st, but those are available for people who are interested in coming to a week long. There's still some room there. They fill up pretty quickly. Those of you here that want your family or friends to come, those are ones that are still available to you. We will be hosting the 10-day event here in Cancun in December. Stay tuned for more details around that. I'm so excited to finally share the details on the availability of the new documentary that we've just completed that's based on the scientific research that we've been doing. The documentary is called Source, It's Within You, and it really is a great way for people who are in this work to pass on to their family and friends so they can say, this is what I'm into, because it's not easy to explain. And it's a great way to meet information to see that you can no longer call this pseudoscience. So I want to play the trailer for you. It's called Source, It's Within You. Here's the trailer. What is the greatest expression of myself? How would greatness live one lifetime, one day? What would love do today?
I start to see this bright light. And I was just so in love and feeling this joy. My whole body was just shaking.
The amplitude of energy in his heart and the frequency he was able to create in his body was profound.
I felt this overwhelming sense of love filling up my chest. It was pure love, pure bliss.
I just had a moment of trust. I was just trying to let go and let it happen. I had come to the realization that was energy.
Every single cell in her body is being touched by a greater frequency.
When a meditator goes into their meditative space, the brain electrical activity leads to a dramatic change in the cell biology behavior of a neuron.
There's a resonance taking place in the brain. There's more order. Something truly remarkable is happening to people in this work, and we are able to measure it scientifically.
It's not just one, it's happening over and over and over again.
If you look at science, this is precisely, I think, how we have evolved as a species.
My hope is that we'll finally push the needle on the next phase of health and healing for humanity. The film basically, it explores the mind's extraordinary potential to influence the body. That's what we're looking at. We have never before seen data from the largest ongoing study on meditation that's ever been done. And the research is being conducted by a group of very dedicated scientists, and we're publishing papers as a result of it. And the Inner Science Research Fund is hosting a free worldwide online screening between June 21st and June 23rd this month. So that's pretty soon. So just go to sourcethefilm.org and to access the film in English. There'll also be options to own the film, and you can continue watching it after the 23rd. If you purchase the film after the 23rd, all of the proceeds go to the Inner Science Research Fund, which is a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to funding studies on the biological and physiological effects of the human body. And share it if you want, and let people know about it, and it'll be available during that time. So let's say goodbye to all the people that have joined us from around the world, from different countries. Thank you for joining us. We have an opportunity for the Changing Boxes collection as well as the walking meditation available. For more information, just talk to my team. Thank you so much for joining us.